Hi, welcome to Tuesdays with Paula on Wednesday afternoon. I'm here at East West Acupuncture. This is a special edition just for you, Regan.
Thank you.
I'm at East West Acupuncture in Health with Regan Archibald. He's the founder of East West Acupuncture and a healing guru here in Salt Lake City. And we're here to talk about stress, how to handle it, and most importantly, how to prevent it. And Regan has really tuned into some very cutting-edge technology around stress. And we all know that three of the major causes of stress are money, finances, right?
Finances can be a big one. Yeah.
Relationships.
Yeah, sure.
And dis-ease, illness. When our health starts to give out, the biggest stress starts to happen.
Huge.
Yeah, from inside out. So, Regan, tell us everything that you can in the time that we have about your cutting-edge technology and how you deal with stress and help people to stay healthy.
First of all, I'm an expert in stress because I had years of just piling stress on myself, living in constant overwhelm, feeling like I wasn't doing enough, wasn't accomplishing enough. And so I think I'm an expert because I've lived stress. As far as finding a way to navigate it, what I've learned is that stress is something that is a natural part of life, and if you have just enough stress, it keeps you creative. It keeps you having the drive that you need in life. But the problem is, in our society, we tend to award people when they go over the edge. So it's easy to point a finger at like an alcoholic or a drug addict and be like they're out of control. But then what a lot of us don't do is realize that a lot of the stress we're creating is of our own addiction to our work or our goals or whatever we're trying to accomplish in life. So I think if you kind of analyze yourself, the best technology you can use right now before we jump into the other testing and things like that is just analyze your own life. Are you waking up in the morning checking your Facebook feed, for example? Are you're checking your inbox? Are you constantly seeking external reward mechanisms that don't have anything to do with intrinsic things like meditation or really connecting with yourself or the environment?
Yeah, so important. I'm so happy you said that. Thank you. Because it's true, those first few minutes, especially when we first wake up and as we're going to sleep, we're down in theta. Right? It's the most suggestive. And especially in the morning, it sets the pace for the whole day. And you're right, the first thing you do is grab your phone and start doing that stuff.
Living reactive,
Right. It gets your adrenaline going immediately, right? And the whole day is that way. Right.
Yeah, and so do you have any rituals that you do, Paula, at night before you go to bed to kind of get your brain working on something more motivating?
Yeah, I usually read from my spiritual practice.
Okay.
I work with I study Ascended Master material. So I read spiritual stuff, and I ask that as I go to sleep that I'm taken into the higher octaves and fed all the light that I need for the next day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a nice way to go to sleep.
Yeah, I love that. And I've got this little ritual that was taught to me by one of my mentors where at night before I go to bed, I always focus on the three coolest things that happen in the day. So I'm like, I had a great time wrestling with my boys, or I was able to go on a great hike, or I met really cool patients, and that kind of sets the stage, and I think about the coolest things that are going to happen the next day. So it kind of gives my subconscious brain, it's already creating architecture for the next day. And then I wake up in the morning, I write down what my day is going to look like, and then that's how I start.
I love how my day's going to look at because you're creating it. You wake up knowing that you get to create the experience for your day.
Exactly.
You don't just react to things that come at you. You design your day.
Yeah, I mean, of course, stress is like the variables that come at life. They say 80% of life we can predict. I mean, you guys can predict 80% of what's going to happen today. You already know. There's 20% of that's just going to be a variable, but if you already are just focused on the 80% that's predictable, like one of my wins today is going to be talking with you, right?
Nice.
It's a big win, and so that's something that is predictable. I know Paula's going to show up, and when we talk, we're going to have this nice flow because we always do, and so that's a win, but it's predictable. There's all this uncertainty going around. You watch politics, you watch Fox News, and those are things we can't control. We can't control what Trump does with his hair, right?
That's right. That's right. Or anything else.
or anything else. But we can be proactive in our own way, but we don't have to stress about it. So yeah, I think that from a psychological perspective, it starts with your mindset around stress. I like to look at stress. The positive side of it is stress is very empowering, because if I want to become better at yoga or better at snowboarding, I do need to put my body in a little more stress, right? That's the only way I can grow and evolve. If I want to learn something new, there's a time where I'm really downloading, compressing new information so that I can really master something, and that's a form of stress. But it's healthy stress. It's something I have control over. I know when it gets over the edge. The things that really help me from a technological perspective is understanding what my genetics look like, understanding what my neurotransmitters look like, and then just keeping all of my bodily systems functioning well. Because as you mentioned, one of the biggest breakdowns that causes people to have stress, I mean, you mentioned three, but yeah, you got finances. I'm not a financial guru. I don't think that's your thing either, but there's resources out there for that. Relationships, I find that relationships, the number one thing that makes relationships stronger is when both parties are healthy. And when you get your physiology healthy, then you start to realize that your psychology, like, man, I was actually kind of manipulative in that situation. Or you can reflect yourself a lot easier, and then you can start to see, man, I need to actually change the way I'm behaving, because when you point the finger at someone else, you got three pointing back at you. And so in relationships, when you have a healthy relationship with yourself, it's much easier to have a healthy relationship with other people.
Absolutely. That's really true. And what I'm thinking of too as you're speaking is that when we're not physically healthy, we're really not ourselves. And we're not always reacting and speaking and having an open heart and loving and being a good quote unquote partner. Because when we're sick, I feel when I'm off physically, everything in my life changes. My perceptions, my
diminishes,
work, my ability to radiate my energy, it all just diminishes. Absolutely.
Yeah, because our body's the number one need is survival, and when people are sick, I mean, I meet with hundreds, I've met with thousands of patients. Probably the number one chief complaint that I hear is fatigue and no energy.
Yeah. Right,
and
life force.
Yeah, there's no vitality left, and so it's like, well, how can you be in a relationship and really show up with full presence and full intention if you don't have energy behind it? All you want to do is crawl into bed. And so, that's, I think the conversation where I think we could lend some really good insights for people, because what a lot of you don't realize is that there's ways of understanding what's going on with your stress. And maybe your stress is not just up here. Maybe your mindset around it is corrected. You're doing your meditations every day, but you still can't seem to get your body out of this kind of fight or flight mode. Well, that's when you want to look at your adrenal hormones. It's a very simple test. All we do is collect saliva at 4 different times of the day, and you can watch on the chart. You can see, wow, my cortisol is healthy. That means it's higher in the morning, and as the day goes on, the cortisol starts to drop. A lot of people, we run their cortisol, and it's either too high all day, so their body's just in this constant fight or flight, or they hit the wall and then it tanks and they have adrenal fatigue, and they can't function, and they feel stressed because their brain's going a million miles per hour, but their body feels like they're walking through quicksand. They literally feel like their legs weigh 200 pounds, can't peel their eyes open in the morning.
Any of this sound familiar to anybody?
Just in case.
People in case, yeah.
Yeah, these are the physiological effects of stress.
Yeah.
And we can test it, and it's very predictable. It's something that we can look at, and we can isolate where your body needs to change, and then you can slowly start to get a recovery from that. But yeah, adrenal health is probably the number one thing that we'd want to look at from using technology. It's a simple test. It's just gathering saliva, right? Second thing we look at are genetics. So genetics, there's a certain genetic pathway. It's called methylation.
Yes.
And so that's your MTHFR, that's your MTRR, that's your COMT, your COMT. And the interesting thing about it is, if your body has this polymorphism where you aren't uptaking B vitamins properly, or you're not detoxifying properly, what happens is you end up with more inflammation. And inflammation is now the modern day disease. It's that silent that's causing heart disease, cancer, everything else. And so a lot of us, we walk around and we're like, I just don't feel quite right. I don't feel like my health is quite where I want it. My energy is just not as sharp. I'm getting brain fog now. And what we're finding is that more and more people are being born with this genetic polymorphism from all the toxins in the environment.
I just found out actually that my own daughter has it. I love synchronicities here. 2 days ago, I had a meeting with her doctor.
Okay.
And it turns out that she can't do the methylation. She's got that gene going on,
So she's got the MTHFR?
Not full. She's just got some of it, but she can't.
Okay.
She can anything that's methylated. So it is.
Yeah.
Methylated. It's a fast uptake. But then the downstream doesn't work. So all the toxins back up.
Yep.
So she's inflamed all the time and really pretty sick. So it's important information. Really
Critical.
major now these days more than ever. I know. I have people. I told someone about this and she laughed and said, "What did we used to do about these things?" Well, we weren't in this condition before. Like you said, these are relatively new.
They're very new, and I think what people don't realize is, now we have better technology, so we can understand how your body's functioning, where the disease processes are building up. But the problem is, we live in an environment. I mean, we're exposed to more toxins in a month than our grandparents were exposed to their entire lifetime.
That's right.
And
plus the stress.
Yeah, then you add on, you compound it with the stress. I mean, we're all distracted by so many different things, and so I think it's really critical. Looking at your hormones, looking at genetically how things are showing up, and then one of the other things we look at are neurotransmitters. So
I'm sorry, we're getting a message here. The audio isn't good.
Okay. We can try and turn this up, or we can unplug it. How's that doing, Ari?
You still with us? Okay. Somebody let us know if you can hear us. Okay.
Okay.
Forgive me. Go ahead.
No. Much nicer to have some good volume going through there. So I mean, if you start measuring those things, when you look at neurotransmitters, one of those methylation cycles is called your catecholamine O-methyltransferase.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm sure they tested it for your daughter, but what that shows you is how well you can metabolize. It looks like it goes in and out. So that's our Wi-Fi connection.
Okay. Not much we can do about it. Read lips.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're sorry. But if you look at that, this COMT, what it will show you is how well your body actually metabolizes, how well your brain metabolizes dopamine, serotonin, any neurotransmitter. And then if you can test your neurotransmitters, what I did is I found out I'm like an X-Man. I've got polymorphisms everywhere.
Really?
Oh, yeah. But I had autoimmune disease when I was a kid. I grew up on a farm in Idaho, so I was constantly moving sprinkler pipe and exposed to lots of chemicals, Roundup. And so what I found, I discovered that, a big part of this is genetically I'm more predisposed to having environmental stressors really weigh me down.
Yeah.
And so we don't realize that, but we see, we think about stress as just like these, relationships or financial, but the environmental stressors are huge. And if you're predisposed to that, it can really collapse a person fast.
Yes, it can. Yeah, it sure can. And the stress that comes from that alone is amazing. Because just the one you described, the level of high anxiety that comes from that particular brain activity that you described, creates anxiety. And there are a lot of anxious people that are going around wondering, it's called anxiety, what's it now? Anxiety dysfunction. Whatever it is, there's a name for it, and a lot of times it's simply that this gene is not functioning properly, so the uptake in the brain isn't right. Yeah,
your dopamine just keeps circulating. That's what happened to me, and so now I use L-theanine. That seems to be really helpful. I use an herb called Kana. Bacopa is another one for you guys. There's some really interesting things that I've been able to do just to help create a nice, stable environment in my brain where I actually feel like it's quiet again. I mean, I've meditated since I was 20, 21, and I'm almost 40 now. But my brain's never been more engaged and active and productive, but it also has never been so quiet. And so
and I can feel it, your energy. I know how busy you are. This man has an extremely full practice here. But just the minute you walked in the room, I can feel this real calm. Your energy is really very centered and calm and clear.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that's, part of it is, I have practice at it, but the other part is I've actually looked at what causes me not to be calm, the stressors.
Right.
And so it's those things that I can control. I can control, what I'm putting into my body. I can control how I'm breathing. I can control how I react to things. I can't control what Trump's doing. I can't control what's on Fox News. And so,
it reminds me of the Serenity Prayer.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
Totally. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. What else can you think of that might help people with stress?
Well, I have tools in Rapid Eye that help. Just simply, and I've talked about these before, and I've mentioned that I'm going to talk about them as much as I can. The basic. Hold on, my nose is running. Hold on, I'm still talking about toxins, and my nose is running. I can't do that one here.
No, you can't. Yes.
Okay, so taking maybe 30 seconds to hold your head straight and moving your eyes to the left and to the right, left side, right side, getting the left brain and right brain communicating, can instantly, just in that moment, give your brain that break from that going over the edge in terms of stress. They just side to side, left side, left, right, and that bridge between the two hemispheres, it's like a drawbridge, right? It kind of goes down, and the synapses fire back and forth.
Love it.
Because often the stress comes from that left brain. Right?
Okay. Yep.
And the right brain has not been given a fair shake. So when we get the two hemispheres working together, it's very de-escalating.
Got it.
And it's easy. You can do it at a red light. You can do it when you're sitting in the bathroom.
How many times do you have to do it?
You do it until your eyes feel like they want to blink, right? When they're tired, right, side to side, and then when they're ready to blink, you squeeze tight because you built up energy. So you want to squeeze tight, open, squeeze tight, open, squeeze tight, open, and then take 3 deep breaths, right? With that sigh, because that helps the parasympathetic nervous system.
Got it.
Come back into center.
Okay.
So that's a real quick and easy.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something you just don't want to keep your eyes closed if you're driving. So, no, that's beautiful. I think one of the coolest things that we found too is Qigong. If you do Qigong at all,
Yes, I have in the past. It is wonderful.
just breathing, moving your body's own energy is invaluable. But I think in the medicine of the future, one of the things we're going to be putting back into people's lives is we need big wellness centers that are just de-stress, like Korean spas. Every time I go, I travel a lot, so I always hit up the Korean spas because it's like a nice, safe place where you can just go and de-stress. We have spas here, but they cost a fortune. You can go to a Korean spa for $15, $20, and so I want to get one in Utah. So if anyone wants to run it for me, it's and you want to invest in a property, let's get that going because I think that would be transformative.
That's a great idea. It sure would.
Yeah.
It'd sure catch on. I lived in Seattle for a while, and there was a Korean spa just like that.
Yeah,
they have
beautiful.
They have the rooms with this different salt and the mud room and
the gold room, the water room, the ice room.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's fabulous.
yeah, it's gorgeous.
And very affordable.
Very affordable. Yeah, and one thing I wanted to invite everyone who watches this, we teach classes to the community on stress. So we have our next presentation, our next seminar that's coming up next week. It's on April 5th. And what this is going to be is stress, hormones, and belly fat. So a lot of people, what they're finding is that they're trying to treat their weight, they're trying to get rid of stress, but it doesn't seem to work. So I'm going to be sharing some insights on why your body puts on fat in certain areas. Because weight is just, once again, it's a sign of stress.
Right.
We live in the, second to Mexico, but we live in one of the fattest countries in the world. And a lot of it is, yes, the food we're eating, but a lot of it's not even your behavior. A lot of it's exactly, it's the stress. And so we're going to be talking about that. I'll shed some light on it. It's free. We provide dinner. It's at 6:15. All you need to do is call the office at 801-582-2011. Talk to Cambria. She'll get you registered for the event. Or just email us at acueastwest@gmail.com, and we'll take care of you.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's exciting. I'm going to check my schedule and try to make myself get there.
Okay,
beautiful.
It
sounds fabulous.
It's a great event. Yep.
Yeah, important information.
Yeah, very important.
Everything we can do to improve the quality of our lives.
Yep.
Is really, because we're here to have a good time.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, and stress is not fun. It makes
That's
life
right.
feel really serious and heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
All right.
beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, Regan.
Oh, my
I
pleasure.
really appreciate you spending the time with us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
Blessings. I'll see you Tuesday morning for Tuesdays with Paula. Bye-bye now. I hope to see you at Regan's event on April 5th.